Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about a very unique and endangered species of a pen called as the Pilot Multiball. I am holding on to the three that I managed to find, but this is a very different pen that I hope comes back into production. This is the Pilot Multiball. I know on this channel we talk about fountain pens, fountain pen inks. I love fountain pens, but there are many situations where a fountain pen just doesn't cut it. There are forms to fill in a bank. Not all papers write and work well with a fountain pen. You have to pair the writings with the right fountain pens. Sometimes you just want something that just works, and Pilot Multiball is one such pen. It is so versatile that you can use it to write on top of not only different types of paper, but even surfaces that cannot handle ink. For example, like plastic and steel, wood, whatever you want to throw at it. So today we are going to test that. This is a cardstock, not the smoothest of paper, but it manages to write just like how a ball pen would write. Interesting part is that this pen, you can't term it as a ball pen, you can't term it as a roller ball. It does have liquid ink. So I usually test pens with the regalia paper. This is the paper from Endless. So on this, it almost writes like a roller ball, has a smoothness of a fountain pen. It just rolls over, and the liquid ink is just absolutely amazing. And since it's a ball-based tip, of course, it's superb to write as well as to draw. And you can see here that it just draws lines in all directions uh, that all look the same, right? It is neither a ball pen nor a roller ball because of a ball pen is supposed to have ink that is made from oil based inks, whereas a roller ball is much more liquid based inks. This one has a liquid based ink, but the ink is what makes it the different pen. This is a permanent ink. It works on all surfaces. It's waterproof, and it is also permanent in that if you write it and once it dries out, it is permanent on, say, for plastic. And if you can, you don't need a marker in addition to this pen. So let's test it on other surfaces. Let me put this paper aside for now, and then we're going to test it with handmade paper. Handmade paper usually is rough, and then fountain pens usually start to smudge. But this is some good quality handmade paper, of course, but there's no smudging whatsoever. It writes just like a ball pen would write on such paper, but you don't need as much pressure as a ball pen because of the liquid ink as well. So writes great, no smudging, and then smooth on those paper. Now I also wanted to test this on some other surfaces. Here I cut a piece of plastic, and you can see that it just writes just like it would on paper, and it's not a marker. It doesn't have a felt tip. It has a roller ball. Now this one is a piece of wood that I tried writing on, and it just writes fine. And after writing with it, it doesn't get stuck. It's still writing smoothly, and you can just run it over the surface, and the ball is not affected. Right? I've tried writing it on rough surfaces and then back on smooth surfaces. The pen just writes just fine. Now I did notice something, that if you keep the pen open for a while, it doesn't write cleanly on the smooth surfaces, whereas on paper it always does not have any false starts. But here you can see that I am trying to write, it doesn't write because it was not already rolling with ink. But if I give it a few runs on paper and then attempt to write it, then it's super smooth. As you can see on this background of the paper, you can clearly see that the lines are pretty smooth and it's permanent. Now when this dries up, this becomes permanent. I wanted to test across all types of paper. So you can see I had washi tape, sellotape, some matte sticky tape, masking tape, and glitter tape, then some duct tape. So I prepared this test sheet so that I can quickly test the pen across all these surfaces. And as you can see, as I glide over it, you get a very uniform stroke that cuts across all these different surfaces. This is super satisfying that you could take one pen and then you can journal and craft and then just write with it. No matter what the surface is, it would just write. You don't need to switch pens, it just works on everything, right? Now this should also be possible on something like a permanent marker, right? Now I'm going to go ahead and try writing with a permanent marker. And as you can see, the permanent marker also does that. It has a felt tip, so it does work on all surfaces. For a ball pen to do that, that is super amazing. But you can notice that with the permanent marker, it starts to spread. It does not offer a consistent line, whereas the Pilot multi-ball offers a very consistent line. So that's what is unique about this pen. Now, this would also mean that this is waterproof and permanent. So if you want to color over it, it should be perfectly fine. So I'm going to take some watercolor. Let's see if it smudges or stays the same when I run this color over, right? And looks just fine. It is not smudging at all, neither is it getting washed away. That's excellent. Now you have, if you are someone who's an artist, this would be great for Inktober, and then you can choose to color it in later. Now, I'm trying to see if I can run a bunch of different colors, so to see if it reacts differently. But no, this stays permanent, right? There's no smudging. It's not getting. It's waterproof, so you can safely use watercolors and stuff. Uh, Perfectly fine. Now, I have noticed that it doesn't work great with um, alcohol markers. This one is a highlighter, and no issues there as well. The highlighter is just fine. I'm just adding and testing if there is some water would do some damage. That is also fine. But with the alcohol marker, it does seem to smudge a bit, and that's the only problem with the I wouldn't say it's a problem. That's the nature of this ink. Uh, Works for the most part, except for alcohol inks. That's pretty much it. But I'm this pen is so satisfying. I cannot um, tell you how I feel. You've looked at all these things that we have tested, and it has worked across all that we have thrown at it, and it's just fine. So this is going to be an everyday carry. This pen is no longer in production. Like I said, Pilot chose for some reason to not make it, but there's nothing like it. This is the Pilot multi-ball, and that's something that is going to be in my pocket for an everyday carry, along with my fountain pens. This one pen can be used for anything and everything I throw at it. I wish Pilot brings it back, and that's all I had, folks. Uh, Hope you check it out. I'll leave a link below if in case you guys want to check it out. Bye.